So before we begin this talk on dragons, I just want to give all you legends a massive thank you, because the channel has reached 6,000 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy. So I just want to say I appreciate every single one of you massive legends, and thank you so much for all the support on the videos. I really do appreciate it. Now, let's talk about dragons. So with the new Game of Thrones prequel House of Dragon currently shown on TV, it got me extremely interested in how attractive blonde people are. I am bloody gorgeous. Oh. As well as finding out I'm the perfect 12 out of 10, it got me extremely interested in how these majestic beasts became so common in our fantasy depictions, so I decided to scour the deep dark depths of Wikipedia to find out where it all began. And before we start, I want to say there's no House of Dragon spoilers in this video, except that it does contain dragons, which was kind of obvious really. And while we're on the topic of spoilers, the Titanic sinks. Sorry. Welcome to your favourite day of the week, everyone, and in today's culture, dragons have captivated people's imaginations as some of the most recognisable legendary creatures appearing in many movies, video games and books. Often acting as an obstacle for our hero to overcome, draconic creatures ready to kill anything in their path are first described in ancient Middle Eastern art and texts. Creatures such as Mushkushu in Mesopotamia and Apep in ancient Egyptian mythology appearing at least as far back as 2000 BC. While these don't exactly resemble our dragons today, the tales of heroes slaying them appears in nearly every culture's mythology in some way or another, with the earliest creatures resembling giant snakes. Of course, a Chinese dragon which depicts good fortune and strength is an entirely different beast to the European counterpart, which are fierce boys and girls, often guarding princesses and treasures. So for the sake of avoiding confusion, this video will solely be based on the European style of dragon, so we don't have to switch back and forth between both cultures. The idea of why a dragon has appeared in nearly every culture in the world has been heavily hypothesised. In his book An Instinct for Dragons, David E. Jones suggests humans have inherited natural reactions to dangers such as snake-like creatures and other animals that were predators to our ancestors. So dragons were used to depict danger and evil, as the earliest dragons were often snake-like variations. Adrian Meyer's book The First Fossil Hunters says that some stories of dragons may have been inspired by ancient fossil discoveries, as no one knew what to make of these strange bones, so dragons were the obvious choice if you didn't know what dinosaurs were. Exaggerations of living creatures such as Komodo dragons and alligators, as well as a lack of Google search back then, would have also led stories to dragons being spread around and believed as true, with slowly more details being added over time. The word dragon entered the English language in the early 13th century from the Old French word dragon, which comes from the Latin draconum, meaning huge serpent, which was derived from the ancient Greek word drakon, meaning serpent and giant sea fish. The Greek word drakon was most likely derived from the Greek verb derkamai, meaning one who stares, thought to have referred to something with a deadly glance or a beast that guards treasure. That's a lot of words. The Iliad brings us our first mention of dragon in Greek culture, as Agamemnon has a blue dragon motif on his sword belt and a three-headed dragon on his breastplate. Dragons prominently feature in Greek mythology, often guarding treasures, and the popular monster the Hydra, which was slain by Hercules, is often referred to as a dragon. Rome's dragons continued development of Greek serpentine versions, as well as taking ideas from Near Eastern countries as their empire expanded. European cultures such as Nordic cultures did also have creatures heavily influenced by snakes, such as the lindworm and Jormungandr of Norse mythology. The Middle Ages, though, is where we really see the idea of the modern dragon take shape. The European dragon evolved from ancient Greek and Roman literature, as well as Bible references and some fantastic medieval art, where animals named as type of snakes being drawn inaccurately with wings and legs. The 11th to 13th centuries are the peak of European dragon loving, with a 1260 AD manuscript showing us our first depiction of what a modern dragon looks like. In medieval thought, dragons were often associated with Satan, sins such as greed and gluttony, and often lived in dark caves or underground layers. Tales of biblical characters slaying this creature often symbolise the triumph of Christianity, as the dragon would be slain to overcome paganism and vanquish Satan. Of course, one of the most popular dragon stories, apart from Shrek 1 and 2 of course, is the story of St. George and his dragon, which has been around since the early 6th century AD. When Georgie Boy put the sword to his dragon, he saved a terrorised town and a princess about to be sacrificed from the creature. But Georgie Boy was no simp. Instead of claiming the reward and marrying the princess, he instead continued on his Sigma male grind set, gave the money to the poor, converted the town into Christianity, and rode off into the sunset like the Giga Chad he is. The story of a hero slaying a dragon continued to evolve over time, giving adventurers important opportunities to grow their CVs and also get a beautiful princess in the process. Tales were often used to show off religious morals, which is where scholars believe the fire-breathing element of dragons comes from, as the dragon's mouth was the fiery entrance to hell. The popularity of dragons saw people adopt them for their use in heraldry and coat of arms as symbols of their families. Originally, the heraldic dragons could have any number of legs, but as more and more became used, there began to be distinctions between a dragon which would have 4 legs and a wyvern which would have 2. Wyverns would have been associated with viciousness, envy and pestilence in myths, but is believed when attached to heraldry it symbolised power and strength, things great houses would want to be associated with. Similarly, with 4-legged dragons which symbolise the devil, it would often be used to visualise keen sight, power and fearsomeness, with the Welsh flag being the most prominent use of the symbol, believed to have originated from the father of the legendary King Arthur, who used the dragon on his crest. Discoveries in the paleontology field about pterosaurs affected how dragons were predominantly portrayed, by walking on their hind legs and wrists, like the ones in Game of Thrones and Smaug from The Hobbit. I got this lovely postcard of Smaug, original Tolkien art. I really like it, it was 80p. And I also got this Dragonite pop, because as I'm doing a video about dragons, I thought I'd get something relevant to the sofa, and they don't sell dragons on eBay. And there's also a Dragonite card, so that's 3 things, so very, very in theme with today's episode. Tales of this mythical beast continue through the centuries, and if you think there is a lot of media on dragons today, even in the 18th century, some people were saying too much literature had been published on dragons. The prominence of dragons in a story symbolised part of everyday life for people, a danger or hurdle to be confronted, with triumph and glory awaiting the victory. The dragon has given us some of our most captivating fantasy stories, as well as the best movies of all time in Shrek 1 and 2. So I hope you can slay your metaphorical dragon for today, take the gold and fuck the princess or prince. I hope you've enjoyed our talk on dragons, like the video if you have, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you next time, peace.